Greetings from the wonderful world of Wreckwatch, where we get up close and personal with the secrets of the deep. This is 7 Seas News, your one-stop porthole into the latest beneath the waves. Summer is when marine archaeologists and divers ditch their threads for wetsuits and the bottom of the sea. It's open season for underwater exploration, guys. And what a busy summer it's been, all about the 3Ds, discovery, drought, and going deeper than ever before. Elsewhere, we'll dive into the summer's top 3 big discoveries, but here's the best of the rest. This summer, much of the world has been grinding to a halt. The sizzling summer sun has triggered wildfires, drought, and melting glaciers. Underwater, the ancestors are being awoken from sunken graves as water levels drop from the Near East to Europe. Scientists say it's the worst drought in 500 years. It's the stuff of human nightmares, but for archaeology, an opportunity for discovery. Beneath the reservoir Scythians are found within Cornwall, prehistoric stones more than 4,000 years old, breathing once more as the water level drops by 50%. Many are covered with mysterious cut marks, small circular depressions that were part prehistoric art and partly used for rituals, whose magical meaning has been lost to the mists of time. Even these are youngsters compared to a whole prehistoric monument, the Spanish Stonehenge, that submerged at Guadalparao as the water level of the Valdecañas reservoir drops. The circle of nearly 100 stone megaliths, up to 6 feet tall, were built 7,000 years ago. Meanwhile in Italy, the Pons Neronianus, a bridge built by the Emperor Nero, has reappeared under the waters of the River Tiber near the Vatican. The bridge was used to herd high-profile prisoners, including an enchained St. Peter, to be crucified in AD 64 near the site of the future Vatican. It's grim stuff. Across the pond in the USA, Lake Mead, at a record low, is little more than a bathtub ring of dry dirt. Not just sunken boats, but a body in a barrel has popped up. The cause of death is under investigation. And the oldest ruined city of the lot has re-emerged below a thirsty riverbank in a reservoir in Mosul in Iraq. There, a team of German and Kurdish archaeologists have uncovered a 3,400-year-old city of the Mitanni Empire that once thrived along the river Tigris. The city and palace complex at Kamune are thought possibly to be the ancient Zakhiku. The unexpected appearance of the city from its watery grave forced archaeologists to swiftly pull together a rescue dig, pooling the talents of the Kurdistan Archaeology Organization, the University of Freiburg, and the University of Tübingen. Despite the city being made from sun-dried mud bricks, the walls were crazily preserved, in places several meters high. A dramatic discovery turned up in 5 pots, holding an incredible archive of over 100 cuneiform tablets, or ancient letters, buried in the Middle Assyrian period, some still closed in their clay envelopes. The ancient settlement is now once again completely underwater, but Zakhiku is just the tip of the iceberg. Over 100 underwater sites are believed to lie below the eastern Tigris. Should we take the appearance of all these drowned settlements and sites seriously, or is history just repeating itself? Well, an inscription cut into rock, exposed under dropping water in the River Elbe in northern Czechoslovakia, gives you the answer. It starkly warns when low is too low. Wenn du mich siehst, dann weine, it reads. If you see me, then weep. While the past is coming back to life upwards in some places, other precious remains are at risk of vanishing below water and being destroyed forever. Jamestown in Virginia was home to England's first permanent settlement in America. It laid the very foundations for America's diverse world. Hundreds of thousands of visitors come to Jamestown every year to explore the spot where indigenous Indians, European colonists, and Africans created the foundations of modern America. But because of the worsening impact of climate change, Jamestown is under imminent threat. The sea level in the region's tidewater has risen nearly 1.6 feet in the last 100 years, and it's accelerating. In the next 50 years, the low-lying parts of the island where Virginia was built, including the 1607 James Fort and State House Ridge, will go underwater. Severe storms are making the situation even worse. 1 to 2 inches of rainfall an hour and flooding are starting to overwhelm weakening shore defences built in the 1950s. So the next 5 years are critical to Jamestown's survival, it's believed. For this reason, the Jamestown Rediscovery Foundation has developed a plan of action to address climate change, including repairing the historical seawall, raising the heights of roads, pathways, and the whole landscape, and building flood berms. If they can bring in the right funds and put the plan into practice, Jamestown should be safe, at least for the next 50 years. For now, the future of Jamestown and America's origins hangs in the balance. Okay, all this globe-strutting is making me hungry. Getting back to the big D in discovery. Turning from ice to baking sun, new research in the Mariana Islands in the remote western Pacific Ocean has brought to light a very early and sophisticated taste for high dining. 2,400 kilometers east of the Philippines, the indigenous people perfected the art of trapping octopus 3,500 years ago. Digs in the islands of Tinian and Saipan have shown how fishing equipment was baited with cowrie shells, a type of seashell that was a favourite food for octopuses, and then connected by a fibre cord to stone sinkers and a hook. Michael T. Carson, an archaeologist from the University of Guam, and Zhao Chun Hung from the Australian National University in Canberra, figured out that while traditionally been thought of as tools for scraping breadfruit and other plants, were really innovations for luring octopus to the dinner table. These octopus lures, says Dr. Carson, date back to the time when people were first living in the Mariana Islands. So we think these could be the oldest octopus lures in the entire Pacific region, and in fact, the oldest in the world. Fancy food, it turns out, was caught by hook, line and sinker millennia ago. Talking of fish, a crew of Dutch fishermen made an unusual catch this August while working off the island of Texel in the Netherlands. When they pulled up their nets, instead of juicy cod, they landed a large sculpture of a wooden head made from oak that once decorated a large ship in the 17th century. Whoever the head represents is unknown, but the fisherman who made the lucky strike likes to call him Barry. According to archaeologist Michael Bartels, the sculpture wears a Phrygian hat, a symbol of Dutch freedom from Spain popular during the 80 Years' War. It was fought from 1568 to 1648. The Wadden Sea, where the artwork was snagged in nets, is infamous for its ravenous shipworms that can eat whole ships within a couple of years. It's hoped the discovery site of the new wreck, if tracked down, could hold yet more finds, maybe even a whole ship, if it hasn't been eaten alive, that is. Talking of worms, no sooner had the wreck of Captain Cook's iconic ship, the Endeavour, been found off Rhode Island in America, then another bunch of shipworm cousins started a free lunch. These assassins of the seas are feasting on the Endeavour and dragging it into oblivion. Dr. Reuben Shipway is an expert in marine biology from the University of Plymouth in southern England. He's just returned to the UK with bleak news. Having died on the spot where the Endeavour was scuttled in 1778, he's found out that Teredo navalis, the naval shipworm, is having a field day. When Dr. Shipway cut open small samples of the hull in the labs of Harvard University, he caught in the act modern worms committing an archaeological crime. The shipworm's stomachs contain chewed up wood from the wreck. Since less than 15% of the original hull of the Endeavour survives in the first place, chances to learn about and from this once great vessel of exploration are starting to fade. So why does this matter? What's the big deal about the Endeavour? HMS Endeavour was launched in Plymouth, England in 1768 and later sent on a 3-year global voyage of discovery. Thanks to his navigational and mapping skills, Lieutenant James Cook of the Royal Navy was appointed commander of the Endeavour. The ship that carried Cook was built in Whitby, a quaint coastal village in eastern Yorkshire. These Whitby ships were called colliers because they were designed to shift heavy cargoes, especially coal, from northern England to London. Cook circumnavigated New Zealand before sailing to the northern tip of Australia, where in typical British colonial style, he claimed the continent for the British Crown in 1770, God save the King. After its heroics were over, the Endeavour was sold off into private service and travelled to Russia before being snapped up as a British troop carrier to help liberate America from the Old Land in the Revolutionary War of 1775. The Endeavour's name was changed to the Lord Sandwich. So to recap the story so far, a cargo ship was built in Whitby, best known as the place where Bram Stoker first invented Dracula. Then it founded Australia as the Endeavour, was renamed the Lord Sandwich, and in 2022 found by a Dr. Shipway to be at risk of being eaten alive by feasting worms. Endeavour has become its very own sunken sandwich. Right now, Dr. Shipwreck warns that the Endeavour was used for one of the world's earliest scientific voyages and is responsible for amassing information that has shaped human history. Its name has since been used for pioneering voyages of space discovery. The majority of the vessel has been destroyed over the past 2 years and more. If it's left, the shipworms will continue to eat away at its structure, and we could be left with little or nothing to preserve, says Dr. Shipwreck. To others, Cook's legacy has been overcooked. Just as Christopher Columbus didn't discover the Americas, which had been occupied by indigenous peoples for millennia and was no new world, First Nations people find the idea that Cook found their home offensive. Some might say, let the old ship rot away and be forgotten. To others, it must be preserved, studied, and understood and displayed as a symbol of colonial history, good, bad, or indifferent. What do you guys think? And closing up today's news of great discoveries, the world of underwater exploration is living through a golden age, at least when it comes to technology and discoveries being made increasingly deeper and deeper. Consider this, in 3,900 meters, the Titanic was thought to be ultra deep when it was found in 1985. Then Odyssey Marine Exploration brought up 110 tons of World War II silver from the SS Gersopa 4,700 meters off Southwest Island in 2013. Now a team led by Victor Vescovo, the founder of Caladan Oceanic, has identified the USS destroyer escort Samuel B. Roberts, lost in 1944 at a staggering 6,895 meters. It's the world's deepest known wreck. The destroyer, more affectionately known as the Sammy B, sank during the Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in history, with over 200,000 naval personnel involved. US and Australian forces were pitted against the Imperial Japanese Navy between the 23rd and 26th of October 1944. It was a tiny ship compared to the monstrous Japanese battleships it fought. Caladan Oceanic's crew joked that it ended up so deep because it was trying to bust into the very gates of hell, to keep on fighting to the bitter end, come hell or high water. As a former student of naval history and an officer in the US Navy, Victor Vescovo felt it was his duty to try and find the Sammy B. The history-busting discovery was made from a former US naval military vessel, used to hunt for Soviet submarines in the Cold War. Of the spine-tingling moment of discovery, Vescovo told Forbes magazine, "We saw a hard sonar return at a right angle to the sub, and nature doesn't do sharp right angles, so we knew we were onto something. We then crept closer and closer to the wreck, and eventually, out of the dark gloom, we could see the outlines of unmistakably a ship. It's an incredibly electric feeling inside the sub to be right there and to have found the proverbial needle in a haystack. But then we also had to be very, very careful because there is live ordnance on the ship. We could eventually see live 40mm rounds in the guns and depth charges still in their racks, and that amplified the tension in the sub. All of the data Caladan Oceanic collected, location, video and photos, has been handed over to the US Navy that legally still owns the wreck as a military vessel after all these decades. Well, that's it for today. Keep dreaming and wondering what else is down there amidst the world's 3 million shipwrecks. Wreck Watch will be back very soon, and until then, deep down we care.